100 million users in 2 months, meetings with presidents, then a text message. Join a call at noon. And 10 minutes later, it was over. My name is Sam Altman, and this is a story about building something that might change everything, and almost losing it in an afternoon. I was born on April 22, 1985, in Chicago, but I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. My mother is a dermatologist. My father works in real estate. I have 2 brothers, Max and Jack, and a sister. A normal Midwestern family. Nothing about my childhood suggested I would one day sit across from presidents and prime ministers, discussing the future of intelligence itself. At 8 years old, I got my first computer, an Apple Macintosh. That machine changed my life. I didn't just use it, I took it apart. I wanted to understand how things worked, beneath the surface. I taught myself to code. While other kids were outside playing, I was inside, building. But childhood wasn't simple. I knew I was gay, before I had words for it. Growing up in the Midwest, in the early 2000s, being different felt dangerous. I hid it for years. Then, in high school, I decided I was done hiding. I stood up at a school assembly and came out publicly. I asked teachers to put safe space signs in their classrooms. Some students had objected to a speaker on National Coming Out Day. I wasn't going to stay silent, while others decided whether my existence was acceptable. One of my teachers later said that what I did changed the school. Maybe. What I know is that it changed me. I learned that speaking truth, even when it costs you, is worth it, and that conviction would be tested many times in my life. I went to Stanford University to study computer science, but I found I learned more playing poker with classmates than sitting in lectures. Poker teaches you to read people, to calculate odds under pressure, to know when to fold and when to go all in. 2 years in, I dropped out. I was 19. In 2005, I co-founded Looped, a location-sharing app. It was one of the first 8 companies funded by Y Combinator. Paul Graham gave us $6,000 per founder, and something more valuable, a framework for building. Looped never became a household name. We raised over $30 million, partnered with major carriers, but we couldn't crack user growth. In 2012, it was acquired for $43 million. Not a failure, not a success. A lesson. During those years, I dated my co-founder, Nick Sevo. 9 years together. When the company was acquired, we broke up. Startups and relationships run on the same fuel: intensity, belief, shared stakes. When one ends, the other often follows. After Looped. I joined Y Combinator as a part-time partner in 2014. Paul Graham asked me to take over as president. I was 28. Under my leadership, we expanded dramatically. We funded companies like Airbnb, Stripe, Instacart, Dropbox. I pushed to fund harder problems: biotech, energy, frontier technology. Not just apps, infrastructure for the future. But something bigger was forming in my mind. Artificial intelligence. I spent the next year on planes. 22 countries, meetings with heads of state: Emmanuel Macron, Rishi Sunak, Narendra Modi. Everyone wanted to understand what was coming. I didn't have all the answers. Nobody does. But I tried to be honest about both the promise and the risk. And then, November 2023 happened. The board called a meeting. I logged in expecting routine business. Instead, Ilya Sutskever told me I was fired. No warning, no explanation, just, "You're out." The official statement said I had not been consistently candid with the board. It felt like reading my own obituary. I posted on Twitter, "I loved my time at OpenAI." Past tense, as if it was already over. What followed was chaos. Within hours, nearly all of OpenAI's 770 employees signed a letter demanding the board resign and threatening to quit if I wasn't reinstated. Microsoft offered me a job. For a moment, it seemed like the company I built might collapse or be absorbed by someone else. 5 days later, I was back. New board, same mission. But something had changed. I understood now, in a way I hadn't before, that building isn't owning. You can pour your life into something and still lose control of it in an afternoon. The lesson wasn't about power. It was about impermanence. Everything you build can be taken. What remains is what you learned and who you became. People ask me if I'm afraid of AI. The honest answer is, sometimes. I've signed letters warning about existential risk. I've testified before Congress about the need for regulation. I believe superintelligent AI could arrive within years, not decades. And I believe getting it right is the most important challenge our species has ever faced. But fear isn't my primary emotion. Wonder is. We are building minds, not human minds, something new. Something that might solve problems we can't, cure diseases, reverse climate change, expand what's possible. In 2024, I married Oliver Mulherin. We met at a party in 2015, in Peter Thiel's hot tub of all places at 3 a.m. He was a computer science student from Australia. Now he's my husband. We live in San Francisco. We signed the Giving Pledge, promising to donate most of our wealth. I still live simply. I'm vegetarian. I read constantly. I walk for hours to think. The trappings of wealth don't interest me much. What interests me is the work, what we're building, where it might lead. I don't know how this story ends. Nobody does. We are in the middle of something unprecedented, a shift in what intelligence means, who has it, what it can do. I helped start this. I may not be able to finish it, but I intend to push as far as I can, for as long as I can. My name is Sam Altman. I stood up in a high school assembly and said who I was. I dropped out of Stanford to bet on myself. I built companies that failed, and companies that changed the world. I was fired in public, and returned 5 days later. I am trying to build something that could save us, or destroy us, and I'm not done yet.